Good morning. I'm been a while. It's been a while. I've just come back from Canada. I was at a women warriors retreat up there for a number of women from different countries who got together to really look at our power as women leaders and our ability to be warriors in making things work for women around the globe. And as life is, when you go into one trend, more and more of your world seems to come into that place. And I ended up coming in and seeing that there was an article in my inbox this morning, and as well as on Facebook, that was a New York Times article on women and why we aren't becoming CEOs and what's happening that blocks us from that level of leadership and that level of success that can take us from being a small percentage. I think we're now 17% of women are in the CEO level of major corporations, major 500, Fortune 500 companies, and what that's about. And it's about many things. We can't label it fairly on any one thing. And when I look at women that are at the lower levels, if you will, that are just entering the world of leadership, or women who are having trouble owning their leadership, there's a great deal of difficulty from what I see from the clients I work with, from people I meet at speaking engagements, that women owning their power is a difficult thing for various different reasons. At the lower levels, I see women who are frightened of being too much, women that don't really know where they want to go. They know they want to move forward. If they have a company, they want their company to succeed, but getting narrow vision as to who's your audience, what's your message, how do you want to get it out there, how do you want to succeed, all of that becomes really difficult for women at certain levels. Once, in my experience, women get it, they know where they want to go, they know what they want to do, and they're now willing to recognize we can't get there alone. We need other women's, we need coaches, we need support. When we've got our own companies, we need an advisory board, we need a board of directors. We can't do this alone. And getting that loud and clear is the next level of growth, I believe, for women in owning their power and in owning their leadership. When that happens for some women, the next level then is, if they're in their own company, it's then taking a look at what happens when I want to start hiring employees, what happens when I want my company to expand. And that requires us as women to recognize that the hardest part of personal growth, the hardest part of business success, is continuously changing your self-image. How do you see yourself on this planet? How do you see yourself in business? So many women I have worked with, myself as well. At one point I was a woman who had, in her mind's eye, a woman with 3 companies. Never saw myself as a businesswoman, just a woman who happened to have founded 3 companies. Until finally at some business meeting, again, this is one of the many reasons we need them, at a business meeting with a group of folks who were peers, it dawned on me, I'm not just a woman with 3 businesses, I'm a businesswoman. And what a dramatically different sense of self, what a dramatically different way of looking at me in the world and looking at me in business. It changed my expectations for me, it changed my expectations for my company. For the 3 of them, how did I want them to go? What did I want them to look like? What was my one long-term vision that the 3 of them that would be leading me towards? Absolutely changed things for me. Consequently, I try to work with others who are entrepreneurs at what level their companies may be at. Where are they? When I started having employees and I was working with medical and dental benefits and 401k match and who would be vice presidents, who was the executive director, and folks who need a linear sense of hierarchy. When to me, if you worked for my company, you were of immense value, and there was no hierarchy in that level. We were, as my sense of leadership, all in this together. A truly effective leader creates leaders. A truly effective leader, a woman who owns her power, who owns her leadership, knows nobody can take that away from her. Your position may change, your job may change, changes. It only grows. It may be expressed in another company. It may be expressed in a different way. But your leadership, once you develop it, never goes away, because our position and our leadership are two dramatically different things. And now when it comes to looking at women CEOs, whether it's of Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, or just major companies, and yours may be one of them. When it comes to women looking, if it isn't your company, women looking to become CEOs with all the difficulties they are experiencing, my thoughts are this is why many women have chosen to become entrepreneurs, because they don't want to fight the battle anymore. They don't want to continue proving something that doesn't need to be proven. And we can't prove something to people who don't want to see something. So it comes down to us. We can look at why women aren't becoming CEOs more and take a look at some of the issues I talked about, the difficulties we have in growing into our position as leaders and growing into our ability to claim our power and to recognize our leadership, that our leadership is ours, and it just is. Once we claim it, it just is. We can develop greater skills, we can develop a greater sense of self, but our leadership will never go away. So let's look at in corporate world and what happens in that. Obviously, this is my perspective, although it's certainly based on years of experience and readings and clients, working with clients at high levels and recognizing what happens. Because often what we're talking about is when women get into corporate, whether that's a hospital, whether that's an insurance company, whether it's a finance company, it doesn't matter what it is. Oftentimes when women are at the C-suite level, there are no other women for many levels down. So in many ways, you are very much alone. You are isolated. And you may have worked your way up because you're a great worker, because you know what you're doing, because your skill sets have taken you and the company to great places. But once you get to the highest level, we're deeper into politics. We're deeper into how you fit in and being more and more clear and precise about what is it that you want and what price are you willing to pay. So often I work with people at that level who are realizing the price they paid to get there has been extremely high. And there's some differences in that. Oftentimes to get to a high level in that corporate world, you need to be willing to pick up and move by yourself or with your family, if you have one, to various countries to really get a better sense of the business in different countries, especially these global organizations, and then what kind of experience are you going to bring in. It's certainly not a definitive, but it's frequently asked that you move. And are women willing to pay that price? Some are and some aren't. But the same with men. Some men are and some aren't. And what ends up happening is that as we move into those higher levels, we're really being isolated out as the only woman. We're really being looked at in a different way. And if you look at the companies at which now women are becoming C-suite folk, they are becoming CEOs. You've got more contemporary organizations. You've got more organizations that really recognize that the power of women in transforming a board, the power of women in transforming an organization is enormous. In those companies that are willing to recognize that different styles of leadership in women, not always, but generally have a different style of leadership, which I think becomes a strength and a handicap, depending on how you look at it at the higher levels. Women recognize that by creating powerful leaders around us, by creating the powerful leaders coming up behind us, we are strengthening ourselves and we are strengthening the company. So this is more of nurturing a group pack. I think women have a mentality of we want to strengthen everybody around us. We want to bring people up with us. It isn't us alone running ahead of the rest of the planet. It's us coming up and wanting. There's a big difference between carrying and supporting. I don't think any of us should carry others. That creates a dependency. But supporting others, giving a hand up, bringing people up, making it so that there are opportunities for all of us to succeed, that's very much a woman's perspective. It's a woman's style of leadership. When that is recognized and that is valued, I believe our positions in corporations will change dramatically. That we are not bringing in necessarily better, but we are bringing in different. And when different styles of leadership work together, we have a huge impact. We bring the best of both worlds to an organization. So as an individual woman, it means you looking at what risk are you willing to take? What price are you willing to pay? And are you willing to really own who you are? I honestly believe that women, because we tend to be more community-based, more group-based, it's not a lack of self-confidence when we don't do I. It's not a lack of confidence. It's a recognition that, yes, I'm phenomenal at what I do. My superpower, if you will, is my ability to see what can't be seen. My personal strength when it comes to working with CEOs is to see what they're not able to see. It's to see them, their company, and their life outside of the company and a way they may not see. I tend to see patterns. I tend to see style. I tend to see what they're not looking at. And that's a strength I bring to them to give them a much greater vision. Each one of us has a different superpower, if you will, knowing what yours is. And I think that's extremely important. Know what your unique gift is that you bring to your leadership, because that's the unique gift you bring to your company, whether it's your company or your company in terms of the one you work for. Know your unique gift. This is us. This is our leadership. And this is saying, my unique quality is this. My unique superpower, if you will, is this. And the company will thrive if they recognize that and take me with them. It isn't a lack of self-confidence to say somebody else excels at this. They would also be a great asset. It is simply a woman's style of doing leadership, of making it possible for all of us to rise together if we are capable and willing to do so. Wanted to share that with you. Want to take a look that CEO of our own company, if it's going to grow and grow, requires the same level, the same amount of personal growth as becoming the CEO in another company, whether it is, as more women are doing, going to more companies that are open to change so they don't have to continue hitting their head against a wall. They don't have to continue fighting a battle that shouldn't even exist. They are moving more into companies that recognize that the best person for the job is the one with the needed skills, and bringing in male and female leaders to co-lead, to do this as a group. Whoever's in the CEO position, the president's position, the COO position, the CFO position, it really says when we can work as a team, when we can recognize each other's gifts, each other's strengths, we end up bringing amazing assets to our personal companies or to the companies we work for. We need to own that. We need to not be apologetic, and we need to recognize our strengths. I wish all of you well in developing your leadership and in taking your world to whatever level of success you want, whatever success looks like to you, because success looks many ways to many different people. Thank you so much and have a really great